Good afternoon, and welcome to today's session on connecting Claude. We are co-hosting today, Crispin and I. As always, we will have Francesca in the LinkedIn comments fielding your questions. We will have a little bit of time at the end, though, to run through any of your questions, and we'll be posing some throughout the session. I will take the opportunity now to welcome Crispin into the session. And take it away.
Thanks very much, Rob. Yes, today it's hot today, isn't it? We're all a bit too hot, and we can't have our fans on because it interferes. Yes, so today connecting Claude to the tools you use every day. I think this is one of the things that we get asked about a lot. And I think it's one of the things that people are kind of most scared about, and maybe rightly so. But what we'll do today is we will show you how we actually run it, what our process was to get comfortable with the things that we are connecting, and hopefully there's some learnings for you in that. So first off, let's do a little bit about who we are. Hello, I'm Crispin. I'm the CEO of the Coders Guild. 20 years in software and digital transformation product stuff. Led the R&D on the level 4 AI and automation. Hang on, let me start that bit again. I led the R&D on the level 4 standard for AI and automation. So drop a comment if you're interested in the funded route with the government funding to pay for training of this nature in your company. But I also I based that on our experience as SMEs, but also on all of the dozens of businesses that I spoke to about this sort of thing last year. So we have got a good idea about what works and what doesn't work, and where people need help. So Rob is here, as he said, with me. So we are tag teaming today, and I think in essence what's important about that is like our like team dynamic, our relationship, co-working together. I am like the eager beaver with appetite for risk. They just want to connect everything and experiment and innovate. Whereas Rob, as an operational person, is more sensible and is also the DPO. So I think like what you'll see in the narrative where we talk about like our story, you can see how that kind of played out and was kind of advantageous to us, I think.
We might need to progress the slide a little bit so that we can.
It's not going. Hang on, something's gone wrong. Let me figure out. Now did it go?
Well, I can see the next one. Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame because the other slide was good, but it doesn't matter. Thanks for pointing it out. We're too hot to do this, aren't we? It's going a bit haphazard.
No, it's fine. We can get back on track.
Okay. So, firstly, and I think this is important. What we would like you to do right now is drop something in the comments to tell us what is stopping you from connecting Claude or whatever LLM you use. What's stopping you from connecting that to your tools already? And I think there's legitimate concerns all over. Things like prompt injections and data breaches, chaos robots. Yeah, so many. But I think like an important thing for us to do is to, as a first point, first point in getting over a fear of something is to name it. And I think really, that when I come on to talk about our story, that's what we were doing. It's like, this is what we are worried about. What do we do about it? So I really do want you to drop some stuff in the comments, and we will come back to these specific things at the end if you have a specific question or query. Also, we've got a resource to share with you at the end where we can run you through a little diagnostic process to kind of estimate your risk for connecting the things that you work with. So now this isn't going to work either, do it? It does if I flip screens.
Okay.
But I think we've all gone off now. I know we're back.
We've got the OpenClaw slide.
Okay, good. Everything went blank for me.
Oh no.
So, like talking about the early days of what we were doing, say this time last year, that was a time for the connectors, and people started releasing the MCP, the ways that you can connect different things to large language models. And mostly they were only accessible through code. So lots of stuff going on with code in trying to connect stuff up. OpenClaw came about and was incredibly popular, but also incredibly frightening. So there were lots of horror stories about Claude bot and OpenClaw when they came out. Oh no, it destroyed this person's hard drive. No, it wiped this person's bank account. It did, like, all those sorts of things. So and these were things that we were talking about, but we did still do experiments with them because the gains are kind of irresistible of the efficiency gains in using these things. So talking about, me and Rob talking about this, what can we do that is safe? And for the most part, what we ended up doing, a lot of experiments, not on Coders Guild machines. We would use our own machines, sometimes machines that are we had some stuff on machines that were not signed into anything, just to test things out and get comfortable with the, what was clearly like the evolution of the operating model for business. So we did things cautiously, I think, in the beginning. We were connecting our main systems or versions of our main systems, just not inside the Coders Guild workspace, because there's too much there to risk.
Yeah, if I jump in there from an organizational perspective, we were still very much using ChatGPT internally for the projects that we created and the custom GPTs, but they were that was acting in isolation from any connections, and it wasn't until late last year, early this year, that we started looking at setting up our own personal experiments and validating Crispin's wild theories that this was going to be the future. And here we are 7 months into the journey, and it's fully integrated into the stack now. And it has been a gradual, careful, considered process. But as educators in the AI space, it's something that we have to do to be able to advise and educate at the same time. So we'll give you a bit more of an insight into the kind of things that we use it with in the next few slides, if we can. There we go. Right. So this is something that we've hinted at before, and it's an idea of where we're using connectors in workflows at the moment. And this is one of the more complex workflows that we've got going, where we take sources of information from siloed apps and then pull them together using Claude to kind of enrich a process that we couldn't before, or required a lot of manual steps to bring this all together. So we've got a number of bits of feedback from different sources when we run a session, and that's in Calendar. And then the feedback some of it gets pulled into Drive, some of it gets pulled into Monday, and Claude takes the Calendar event and the Drive information and the Monday information, and then processes all that using the chatbot, and then it writes back the updated report into the particular thing in Monday, and then fires a Slack report out to us so that we can keep a track of sessions that happen on that day. But also in the long term, we've got feedback on the sessions when we come to run them next time. We know what worked, what didn't, what we need to carve out, and there's loads more that we can do with that. But that's just for connectors and Claude, and it's I'm probably giving away too much here, but
well, I think we've got, the thing is that our next webinar is basically about this whole process and how, because I feel like this is kind of the main process that we started on, knowing that we could make more efficient, and then in the working out of how to make it more efficient, we actually realized how much further we could go with it, with the tools that we now had access to. And then it becomes now it's an AI native process, which I think is what you can see across the business. Is that's where we're heading with all of the things. They start with an efficiency gain, and then they become like an AI native thing, which is like the next level. That is when this beyond efficiency, it is the new operating model. And one of the things I think that is, if you think like, is Google Workspace the center of our operations, like as what's the main digital tool? I think like historically it would have been something like Word or your 365, and then it doesn't become Monday or something when we started doing more automations, or Asana or something like that, things that are doing those sorts of like businessy processes. And now I feel like Claude is our central tool, and all the others are like the peripheries. So sorry, I've gone on now about like literally we could talk about this all day. So come to our like 5-hour webinar where we just talk about our favorite thing. It's not really going to be 5 hours. Thanks, Rob. I think well, you're bringing it to the next webinar, and I actually want to like do a callback to our last webinar when we were talking about the VA skill, because that relies heavily on connectors as well. And the things that VA skill for me is able to do off of a pretty offhand voice note is again down to connectors, but also down to the permissions that those connectors have. So the way that I want to work isn't just described to Claude in the skill, in the knowledge that it has about me, in the memory. It's also in what these connectors are allowed to do, how far they're allowed to go. So I think, when we look at can read and update stuff in Drive, it can do the same in Notion. I'm quite free with Notion because that's like an isolated space for me of like personal notes. So it's not really impacting the team. There's no real like risk to the team because it's just like my personal stuff. Getting things in and out of Monday and Slack is really important for that to be able to work. So I can just say, for example, go and find the email chain from the chat that I'm having with the DWP about the software dev level 3 thing, and then it will bring that into the chat for me to respond to. But I think thinking about like the permissions part of it, when I look at what so email in particular is a good one, because I am quite fussy about that. Like I don't really let Claude write my emails for me. Like Gemini is desperate to write every single email for me at all, and I never use that stuff. So generally I will be requesting Claude to go and get an email and bring it into the chat with me, and then I'll be dictating, take a letter, Claude. I'll be dictating to what I want the response to be, and then have a voice skill that says when Crispin says he's dictating, it means dictate. It doesn't mean be humbled and excited and unnecessarily flamboyant with language about stuff. It means he's dictating to you. Just tidy it up and take the ums out and make him sound a bit more professional. But you know what I mean? And those drafts then happen in Claude, and I can and then when I'm happy with them, then I can say, oh yeah, that's fine. You can add that as a draft back in Gmail, and then I will go and read it through one more time in Gmail and then send it myself. So I never let the send happen. That's just absolutely shut off from the permissions, which I feel like that's a good transition now that to our next bit, which is kind of a demo for just setting up a normal connector and just looking at the levels of permissions and access that you get to grant. Now we have kind of, instead of normally we would do a live demo, it's too hot for live demos today. So we've in the 11th hour opted for screenshots. So this could go one of two ways. So
But as with my DPO hat on, it's also better to not expose login information and things like that. And although, did we sanitize your Claude history?
Oh, probably not.
I think we did. Okay,
right. So Negroni batch measurements for the camping weekend.
Excellent. I don't think that's libelous or anything. That's fine. So I'll walk you through it. So you head over to customize, and that is the same for chat, code, and co-work. And that will open the settings. You jump on down to connectors, and you'll hit add to add a new connector. And then you can search available connectors. You want to go for, especially when you're starting your connectors journey, existing connectors by the company that you're connecting with. You want to kind of confirm its legitimacy in the same way that you download an app and you double check that it's actually made by the company that's that it appears to be from. And then you can this is based on organizational admin privileges on Crispin's account. But so if you hit add to your account or team, depending on what kind of tier you're on, and then it will show up once you've hit add into your connectors, and then you can connect it. And in this instance, we're demoing connecting to HubSpot, and for the most part, you'll get to see the specific connector permissions when you're connecting it up, and that gives you an opportunity to research a little bit deeper and restrict the things that you might need to restrict from the connector side, from the supplier, from HubSpot. And then you've got the permissions internally within Claude, and we as a default tend to have ask permission. We don't tend to have always allow. I would say that if you're an organizational admin, or if you're doing this for your personal setup, oh, here we go, jump the gun. You want to go through and start off as locked down as possible, and then add the bits you need to. Again, I think I've jumped the gun. So from our perspective, we have a Teams tier. So we have an organization where we invite our team members to it, and the admins can then pick which apps and connections are allowable into the account, and then the individual can go in and choose from this allowable list of connectors to connect their individual accounts to their Claude. So you can set organizational defaults on the permissions, and then you've got to confirm with your team which apps that they would be best suited to connecting to, that help with their workflow. And we've introduced that into our processes, whereby I think this is one of the tools that we have to try and make sure that we keep things safe and compliant. We've got a skill that when we're looking to bring on a new connector, that we have a conversation in Claude, we pull together a few questions, and then it gives us advice on how we should set up, how we should approach that connector, and then we can log it so that it shows that we've done our due diligence and we've taken the time to make sure that what we're connecting and how we're setting permissions is safe. And then
but
that's
also
disseminated.
Well, the other thing we don't want to do is stifle innovation. True. Just because we have locked these things down, we are starting from a position of locked. But everyone can see what connectors they can have, and they can research what connectors. So if we've locked something down, it's not because we don't trust it forever. There has to be a reason to switch it on. And I think and it's easy to have a good reason, but we start from a position of off. And then, so anyone can, anyone could message Rob and say, I've just found a use case for switching on this position, switching on this this bit of this connector, and that would help me do this. And then, like Rob says, we can run it through the skill, and we can be aware of risks, and then make a decision whether we do that as an always allow, or whether it's not, or whether it is like ask every time. And also that the ask every time is really useful because it's showing you how often you're using that thing, and that can tell you one of two things. It can tell you that this is super useful and it's super safe, but it also could tell you that you should be thinking about whether or not you're allowing this thing in this state, in this occasion.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
I agree. And from a not wanting to stifle innovation perspective, that's very much, these are all tools we're using anyway, and it's a matter of to bringing these tools together so that we can make ourselves a bit more efficient. And so it's definitely not about that, but it's about just managing that risk effectively within the business.
So this is kind of our checklist it's like a retrospective checklist, really, because it's when Rob and I were discussing what we would do for this webinar, it's like what's the steps that we went through, and then that becomes the like the roadmap, if you like. So like I said, we were you always start with like read only. We're only connecting the things that we actually need, so we're not just going in and being like, oh yeah, we've got that, set it all on, click it on. We're doing everything from a needs basis. We look for the need, and then we do the connection, which is I think is a similar way to like the bugbear I have about software dictating what people do. It's like, and this gives us much more freedom than ever before. Sometimes or historically you might buy a piece of software, I don't know, like a CRM or something, and then along the road you've changed your process because of how that software works. We don't need to do that now at all, and I think this is a good example of it. It's like when we want to do a thing, then we think about that thing and then we do it, and you're being really mindful about what each connector can see, and there's so many levels of permissions. But one of the things I like about the interface that we have, when as Rob walked through that of with HubSpot as the example, when you're connecting things, it's being really clear about what it is that you are connecting, what is available to you, what you have to do, and then what's available in the future. So you get to see all of those things, and that also starts to make you think about like, well, I wouldn't want that to happen, or I wouldn't want those things. So I think that's good, like general awareness for security as well. With like we said, with the situation of people coming to Rob to say, oh, I've got this idea, I want to do this thing. They'll have done that research. They'll have had that 1-2 with Claude to like investigate the gains over the risks. Low stakes work first. Practice not on the business critical things. That was definitely really good for us. Of like, you tend to be a lot more free as well when you reduce the risk. You tend to allow yourself to innovate more, and you can and the way that you start thinking about things, the way you start thinking, well, I will do this here, and then you'll be like, aha, that's what I'll do in this other situation at a greater scale. So I think like little experiments are really, really important to do. Like you don't need a 2000% efficiency gain, mega business critical process for the win. You just need to be comfortable thinking about the new way of in which we operate as people in business. And the last bit is review and revoke, and the interface I think is so. I do like the interface for it of just switching those things off. It's really easy, like if you're a parent, you've got kids with like a Minecraft account, all the different places that you've got to adjust permissions with Microsoft and with Mojang and with your own internet connection. Like that isn't here. It's I feel like it's really plain what is happening. I feel like it's surfaced really well. So and it's so easy just to go and switch them off. It's like, why is that on? What's the reason for that? Oh, that's the experiment that I did 6 months ago. Switch it off then.
Yeah, and I think the review and revoke is an important thing. I think the built-in need to often reconnect forces that thought process, when you're having to reconnect. Why am I reconnecting it? Do I need it? And sometimes you can find that the connection has lapsed and you haven't used a connection in a while, and then you go to use it again, and it's just that prompt to think, do I still need this on the account, let alone for this particular chat?
And of course, you could just ask Claude about it. What connections are on that we could switch off?
Yeah. And that's a routine that I have that I run every week.
Awesome. So last thing is like a bit of a call to action. If you haven't connected anything yet, what's a super low risk, low lift thing you can do? So the example that I have is like, if you just connect your calendar for read only, then that's just the same as, me giving Rob view access to my calendar. So that's a low lift thing, but you will start to see that open up for you of like, how many meetings do you think I could avoid? How many meetings, what's my hours in meetings versus my hours out of meetings? What's my week look like? There's things that you can start doing that will then open up the opportunities and the ideas for what happens next.
I don't think it showed that slide. Might have to give it a nudge.
Are you having to, the Chrome's gone too hot?
Yeah.
So onto the questions. Has that swapped?
That's fine. Yes, I can see that.
Oh, it looks blank to me. All right, let's come back.
Okay.
So do we have any questions, Rob?
We've got a few. Yeah, we've got a few concerns. Let me just go. So what's preventing you from connecting? We've got security and data protection are the two that came in at the time. Here we go. Security and token consumption. I think all reasonable. I think token consumption is more about the model that you're using with the connector rather than.
I would say so too. And you've got that locked down pretty well with the tokens. When I have to, Rob, please can I have some more pocket money?
Yes. I think Fable 5 hasn't helped with that at all. So we've got Sam saying he's connected to Monday, but it never seems to work, and which I personally I think Claude has made Monday a lot more useful within our organization. So it might be interesting to get some follow up with you, Sam, to find out exactly what you were trying to do with Monday that didn't quite work. But
yeah, Sam, I think DM us and we can have a chat about that, because I think Mondays, like, I think there was some early stuff when we first started connecting. Monday was a bit glitchy, but I feel like it's gone absolutely fine for the past like 3 or 4 months. Would you say?
Yeah, there was a blip a few weeks ago when they put the third-party connectors they wrapped it up in the AI settings, and that might be the thing that you've. It's just meant that we've had to now turn on the Monday AI settings internally, which is a bit of a UI nightmare when we are not using the AI features other than to have Claude into it. But that's probably what might be blocking you. But yeah, get in touch.
It's made me think, actually. Is there another question, or because I've got a new question in my head?
Well, if you've got the question, say it, because we do have 1 or 2 more.
Okay, well, whilst you're looking to say another one, I think there's a lot of stuff that we have done in this work that we've been doing, having Claude as like the central business tool. There's a lot of stuff that we've done outside of that, not for Claude's benefit, but just things have surfaced like, oh, actually, why do we have the shared drive structure like this? It would be loads more secure if this bit of this drive was its own one, and we moved all of those things to this archive place. And so we're doing stuff now that is being surfaced not because we're trying to make Claude work, but just because we're like, oh, now I don't actually want that section of drive going into co-work. So, but actually I don't want that section of drive there at all. Actually, now we think about that should come out and that should go somewhere completely different. So we've done stuff like that. There's other examples as well that I can't think of because I'm too hot, but there's a few other things like that on there, Rob, where we've changed what we're doing because things about our own data security and ways of working have just improved.
Yeah, and I think things like embedding things into your skills, which make it only look at one specific drive subfolder or one specific board, so that you're not having it go out and trawl, that you can be very laser focused about what you're wanting it to do, and you use the skill to tell it where to go. All right, we're running out of time. Jewel said that data security and trust, exposing Claude to client list, which is their IP, which I think is quite an interesting one.
Yeah, well, I think, like to say, I don't know about the exact nature of your stuff, but that's similar to what I was talking about there, of like, well, what do I want Claude to see? So actually another thing is like when the stuff that we have, like dashboarding stuff that we've built, which that should be another webinar as well, the Claude code and dashboarding and stuff. We've moved stuff around and created specific users for, say, for Monday.com. There's a specific user who only has view access to certain things, and then so we've moved data around to make that more secure, and we've just locked down other systems so that the stuff that we want to surface in the dashboard, which is is in the same areas as personal information, we make sure that the mechanism that we are using to view that information is locked down. It's not just saying, hey Claude, don't look at the secret stuff. It's more like, this is your helper to access this stuff, and we control that thing's view, read, write, access.
Right. So a little bit about the connector risk call. So earlier we mentioned that we have a tool internally, a skill that we use to validate our connector requests, and this is a genuine tool that we use inside the business, and we are allowing people to get in touch and run through a version of that skill if you want to double check your queries and questions and security concerns with Francesca, and we can provide you a report tailored to your specific needs at the end of the call. So please take a screen grab and follow the link and book in a call with Francesca to run through that skill for your connectors if you're still a bit unsure, if we haven't convinced you fully in the last half hour.
Now, of course, this stuff is all contained as well in the course that we have running, the AI tools for SME leaders. All of this stuff covered across 6 weeks with like practical learning and things you can do in your business and be coached through that process yourself. So if you want to do this stuff in earnest with a bunch of other SME leaders, we'll put the link in the comments for that too.
Great. So I'm not sure whether we can see the final slide, which talks about our upcoming webinars.
Oh yeah, let me do it. I have to do a special maneuver to make it happen.
Okay, so upcoming, we've got, which was hinted today, the automation loop that we couldn't have done without Claude. So if you were interested in that multi-connector skilled workflow that we've got set up, come and have a bit more of an in-depth look. And we've had a few comments on the quality of the image, not being able to read the text. So we'll have a live board so we can zoom into the individual components for the next one. And then after that, in August, Crispin's going to run you through how we set up our style guide in Claude Design.
Yeah, so that's like taking our like PDF style rules and logos and stuff, and then built a style guide that sits in GitHub in code. So then Claude Design can pull all of those things with SVGs, and everything is super accurate. So
excellent.
slides and PDFs and all sorts.
We ran a little bit over time, but I'm sure that's fine. Thanks very much, Crispin. It was really good to have a chat with you today and resume my co-hosting duties. Have a lovely weekend, everyone, and see you again soon.
Thanks a lot. Bye.